All right, let's talk about a metal you probably see every single day, but maybe don't think twice about: copper. It turns out this ancient metal is, well, quietly becoming one of the most important players in our high-tech future, and maybe even a central piece on the global chessboard. Let's dig in and find out why. So, the analysis we're digging into today kicks off with this really bold claim: not lithium, not cobalt, not nickel, but copper. This is the big idea we're going to unpack. Why on earth are experts singling out this one metal as the long-term winner? And that really is the question, isn't it? I mean, we hear constantly about the race for battery materials and these super advanced semiconductors. So what makes simple, kind of reddish-brown copper so special all of a sudden? Well, the answer lies in this massive collision between incredible demand and a uniquely stubborn supply. To really get why copper's having this moment, you first have to look at the demand side of the equation. And the story here is all about one giant global trend: electrification. This demand isn't just coming from one place. It's more like a perfect storm from three really powerful forces. You've got the explosion in power-hungry AI and data centers. Then there's the green energy transition, which needs just massive amounts of wiring for everything from electric vehicles to wind turbines. And finally, you have nations strategically stockpiling it, for defense and industry. Here's the bottom line: an electrified world just cannot exist without copper. It's the most efficient, non-precious conductor of electricity we have, and it forms the literal backbone of our power grids, our homes, and all our tech. In fact, electrification already makes up nearly half of all global demand for copper. And to put that AI boom into perspective, think about this. The amount of new data center capacity coming online in the US is about to hit an all-time high. Every single one of those centers is like a small city that needs to be wired from top to bottom, and that creates an almost insatiable appetite for copper. So, demand is booming. Okay, we get that. But that's only half the story. The real twist, the thing that truly sets copper apart from pretty much every other major commodity right now, is on the supply side. Just take a look at this. For most other critical metals, we're talking aluminum, lithium, iron ore, the forecast is actually for prices to fall. And why is that? Because a massive wave of new supply is about to hit the market. This is the exact opposite of what's happening with copper. And the contrast here is, well, it's stark. On one side, you've got massive Chinese investment unlocking huge new supplies of aluminum in Indonesia, lithium in Africa, and iron ore in Guinea. But on the other side, you have copper's big problem. New mines are incredibly hard to find, they are geographically concentrated, and they can take a decade, sometimes more, to develop. You just can't flip a switch and get more copper. So this whole dynamic, it's creating more than just an economic story. It's now become a geopolitical one. This unique tension between copper supply and demand is turning into a major point of strategic competition between nations. This table shows a really critical piece of the puzzle: control over processing. See, even if a country mines the raw ore, it often has to be sent somewhere else to be refined into usable metal. And as you can see, China holds a dominant position here, refining 44% of the world's copper and even more for other key metals. That gives them immense leverage. This is all part of what some people call the commodity control cycle. Basically, as the world becomes a little less globalized, nations are scrambling to lock down their own supply chains for critical materials like copper. They're shifting from cooperation to pure competition. And right now, we are deep in what's called the insulation phase of this cycle. You see countries putting up tariffs to protect their own industries, they're offering subsidies to attract investment, and they're pouring money into building supply chains that they can control. And all of these actions tend to support higher prices for that commodity. Okay, so let's put all of this together. When we look at the big picture, how does copper really stack up against other major commodities? Let's run through the final comparisons. The long-term argument for copper, when you boil it all down, is incredibly straightforward. You've got this relentless, future-proof demand that is running headfirst into a uniquely constrained supply. It's a classic squeeze. Now, you might be thinking, well, what about gold? And yeah, gold is also in high demand, but for completely different reasons. Central banks are buying it as a safe haven asset to diversify away from the dollar. It's really a financial instrument, whereas copper's value is tied directly to actually building the future of global industry and technology. And if we look at energy, we see the same story as those other industrial metals. The world is facing huge supply waves.
Liquefied natural gas exports are set to surge, and there's a short-term oversupply of oil. So again, this is the complete opposite of copper's tight supply story. Which leaves us with a final, pretty powerful question. In an era that's going to be defined by AI, green energy, and growing geopolitical friction, could control over the supply of this one humble, ancient metal actually be the ultimate source of modern economic and strategic leverage? It's definitely something to think about.